Today we're crocheting a flower bouquet that also turns into a coaster. And you can also make a little pot to hold some of your coasters, and it'll look like this, like it's decoration, but you can just take it out when you have a drink and use it as a coaster. And when you're done with it, you can just put it back in your pot and it acts as a little piece of decor.
You can find the free written pattern at vivcrochets.com or at the link in the description box below. And if you do enjoy this tutorial, please leave a like or comment to let me know. Thanks so much, and let's get started.
For this project, I used a total of 16 grams of yarn for each coaster, and you're going to need 3 different colors, one for the base, one for the leaves, and then one for the flowers. And you want to use 100% cotton yarn for at least your base because cotton will absorb the water, and make sure it's not mercerized cotton. So this one is Lily Sugar and Cream and white, and then these two are just some scrap cotton yarns that I have from the Dollar Tree, and you can find these colors in Lily Sugar and Cream yarn. And then if you do want a pot to hold the coasters, you can use any yarn. I just have Red Heart Super Saver in the color Buff, and I used about 10 grams of yarn for the pot. And then I'll also be using a 4mm hook, so this is smaller than what's recommended for the yarn so that there are no gaps in my crochet. And then I'll also need some scissors and a yarn needle. So we're going to start with the white, our base color yarn, and we're going to make a magic ring. So a magic ring is basically a loose slip knot. So we'll start by placing the yarn over a hand like this with the tail end at the bottom. Then grab the yarn with your thumb, and you want to make sure you leave a good amount of yarn under your thumb, about 5 inches. Then grab the top and wrap it around 2 fingers to form an X. And then hold the yarn with your pinky. And then we're going to take our hook and we're going to go under one side of the X. And then go over and grab the other side and then pull it through. And then we're going to take our thumb and our first finger on our right hand, and we're going to grab the entire ring and our hook and pull it off of our fingers and make sure this tail end doesn't go through the loop. And here we have our magic ring, and we can pull on the tail end to make the ring a little bit smaller and easier to work into. Now we can start our first round, and to start every new round we're going to chain 2. And to chain, yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. So there's our first chain, and again yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. So now we have 2 chains, and now we can start working into this ring, and we're going to do 12 double crochets. So to do a double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the ring, yarn over, pull through, and you should have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So there's our first double crochet. Again, to do a double crochet, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So now we have 2 double crochets, and we're going to keep going until we have 12 double crochets in this ring. So here I have my 12 double crochets, and you can count your double crochets by the posts. So there's 1, and then here's the second one, and then the third, the fourth, the fifth, or you can count the V's at the top of each stitch. And now we're going to take the tail end and we're going to tighten it to close up the hole in the middle. So just pull on it, and then the center should close. And then to end off this round and every single round, we're going to do a slip stitch to the very first double crochet that we made. So if you look over to right here, you can see our chain 2 in the very beginning, and then right next to it is our very first double crochet. So again, here's the chain 2 and then a double crochet. And at the top you can see the V up here. We're going to go under the V at the top of this stitch. So insert your hook under those 2 loops. And then to slip stitch, we're going to yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop on our hook. So that's our slip stitch, and we're also going to tighten it to make it really small. So pull on it, and that should make the slip stitch really small
so that we don't accidentally work into it in the next round.
So there's our first round, and we can start round 2. So like I said earlier, every round is going to start with a chain 2. So chain 1 and 2. And for this round, we're going to do an increase into every single stitch. And an increase just means putting 2 double crochets into 1 stitch.
So we're going to put 2 double crochets into each of the 12 stitches we made last round.
So our very first stitch is that same stitch that we slip stitched to, right at the base of our chain 2. So right here, we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go back under those same 2 loops that form that V, and then we're going to do a double crochet. So there's 1 double crochet into the very first stitch, and again an increase is 2 into that same stitch. So we're going to do 1 more into that same stitch. So we'll yarn over, go back into this space, and do another double crochet. Now you can see this stitch has 2 double crochets coming out of it. And now we can move on to the next stitch, which is this one here. And you can look at the top, you can see a V. This next V we're going to be working into, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook under this V, and then do a double crochet. And again, we're doing 2 into each stitch, so we're going to yarn over and go back into that same stitch and do our second double crochet.
And we're going to repeat that all the way around.
And once we reach the end, we should have a total of 24 stitches in this round.
And you can see we didn't work into the slip stitch, otherwise we would end up with the wrong number of stitches.
And now we're going to do our slip stitch to end this round. So again, look over here, and you can see our very first stitch. Right here, there's our chain 2, and then our first stitch. We're going to go under the V at the top, and then yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook, and tighten it. And there is our second round. Now round 3 is going to start the same with a chain 2. And in this round, we're going to be doing an increase into every second stitch. So that means our first stitch is going to have only 1 double crochet, and then the next one is going to have 2, then the next will have 1, and the next will have 2. So for our very first stitch, which is that stitch we just slip stitched to, we're going to do only 1 double crochet. So yarn over and go back under those 2 loops and do a double crochet. So there's just 1 double crochet in the first stitch, and in the next stitch we're going to do an increase. So go into the next stitch and do 2 double crochets. And this is what we're going to repeat all the way around. 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochets. So our next stitch, we're going to do 1 double crochet, and then in the next stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets.
So we've just repeated that pattern and we're going to continue repeating it all the way around.
And as long as you did the pattern correctly, your very last stitch should end up being an increase. And at the end of this round, you should have a total of 36 stitches. And we can slip stitch to the very first stitch of this round to close it off.
And there is round 3. And I am going to add one more round to make the coaster a little bit bigger, but if this is a good size for you, you can skip round 4 and go straight to round 5.
Now we're going to do round 4. So again, we're going to chain 2. And for this round, we're going to increase in every third stitch this time. So the first 2 stitches, we're only doing 1 double crochet. And then the third stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So this round goes 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. So the first stitch, we'll do 1 double crochet. And then the next stitch, we're going to do 1 double crochet. And the third, we're going to do 2 double crochets. And this is the pattern we're repeating this round. 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets. So let's do that one more time. 1, 1, and 2. And again, as long as you follow the pattern correctly, your final stitch should end up being the increase. And at the end of this round, we should have a total of 48 stitches. And now we can slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. And there is round 4. And now we're going to fasten off. So we're just going to cut our yarn about this long, about 5 inches. And then pull the yarn through with your hook. And now the base of our coaster is finished and we can start on round 5, which is the leaves. So we're going to grab our green yarn and we're going to attach it. So to attach the yarn, you can use any method you like, but I'm going to make a slip knot. So place the yarn over your hand with the tail end at the bottom. Grab the yarn with your thumb, then grab the top, wrap it around 2 fingers to form an X, hold it with your pinky, then with your hook, go under one side of the X, over, grab the other side, and pull it through. Then remove your fingers and tighten the knot. But we're going to leave the loop around our hook loose so we can take it off. So we're going to take this loop off of our hook and we're going to hold onto it with our finger. Then go back to our base. And you can attach your yarn anywhere you want, but I'm just going to attach it back to where we fastened off. So right here, where we slip stitched, I'm going to insert my hook into that stitch and then put the loop back on my hook and tighten it. And then pull this loop through the stitch just until it comes out like that. And then we're going to chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to do a double crochet into the same stitch that we attached our yarn to. So yarn over, go back into the same stitch and do a double crochet. So now it looks like that. And we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. So this stitch we're going to skip, and that's 1, 2, then in the next stitch we're going to do a double crochet. So yarn over, skip those 2 stitches, and do a double crochet in the next. Like that. And then we're going to chain 2 and do another double crochet into the same stitch. Like that. So you get these triangle looking things around the coaster. And again, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. So 1, 2, and then in the next we'll do a double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet into the same stitch. So let's do that one more time. We're going to skip 1 and 2, then in the next it's double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. And we're going to repeat this all the way around. And after you go all the way around, you should have 2 stitches left at the end. We'll skip that and slip stitch to the very first triangle that we made. So we're going to look at the bottom right here where we attach the yarn, and we're going to count up to the 3rd chain from the bottom. So this one is the 1st chain, and then the 2nd, and this is the 3rd. So in this 3rd chain, we're going to insert our hook. Just go through the V like that. And then we're going to do our slip stitch. So yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook, and tighten it. And there is our 5th round. And now we're done with the green and we can cut off our yarn. So we'll do the same length. Pull through with our hook. So there is round 5. Now we're going to take the yarn for our flowers and we're going to attach it on the same way we attached the green yarn. So put this off to the side and we're going to do a slip knot. And we're not going to tighten the loop, we're going to take it off our hook and onto our finger. And we're going to attach our yarn into this space right here where we fastened off. So just insert your hook into that space and put the loop back on your hook and tighten it. And then pull this loop through that space like this. And then we're going to chain 1. And our yarn is attached to this space, and in the space we're going to do a single crochet. So to do a single crochet, insert your hook into the space again, yarn over, pull through, and you should have 2 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through the 2 loops. And now we have a single crochet. Next we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to work into this chain 2 space between the 2 green double crochets
in this upside down triangle space here.
And we're going to do 5 double crochets into this space. So yarn over, insert your hook into this space, and do a double crochet. And we'll keep double crocheting until we have a total of 5 double crochets. Now we have 5 double crochets in this space, and we're going to pull on our hook and pull up this loop. And then we're going to take our finger and put our finger into this loop and take our hook out. And then we're going to go over to the very first double crochet that we made. So this one all the way on the right. And at the top, we're going to go under the V of this stitch. Just like that. And then we're going to also go through the loop that's on our finger. And then we're going to take our finger out and tighten the loop. And then we're going to pull this loop on our hook through the stitch. Like that. And that makes a 3D tulip. And this is called a popcorn stitch. So after our popcorn stitch, we're going to chain 2. And we're going to move on to this space between the triangles. So that's the same as this space here where we attached our yarn. We're going to do a single crochet just like we did here. So insert your hook into this space, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. And then we're going to chain 2. And we're going to start working into this next upside down triangle space, and we're going to do another popcorn stitch. So again, we're going to do 5 double crochets. Now we have our 5 double crochets, and again we're going to pull up the loop on our hook, and we're going to put the loop onto our finger, go to our first stitch, and insert our hook into that stitch, and then through the loop that's on our finger. And we'll tighten it. And we're going to pull this loop through the first stitch. And then we can chain 2 and single crochet into this space. So that's a pattern we're going to be repeating all the way around, and let's do that one more time. So after our single crochet, we're going to chain 2 and do 5 double crochets into this upside down triangle. And after our 5 double crochets, we're going to pull up the loop and place it on our finger. We'll go over to the first of our 5 stitches and insert our hook. And then also through the loop that's on our finger and tighten it. Then pull this loop through the first stitch. And then we'll chain 2 and single crochet into this next space right here. So again, this is the pattern we're just going to be repeating all the way around. So after our single crochet here, we chain 2 and do our popcorn stitch in here, chain 2, single crochet in here, chain 2, popcorn stitch, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, and we're going to repeat that all the way around. So after you go all the way around and do your final popcorn stitch, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch to our single crochet that we did in the very beginning. So go under the V at the top of this single crochet and slip stitch. And our 6th round is finished, and we can cut our yarn and pull through with our hook. And the last thing to do with our flower coaster is to weave in our loose ends. So first let's weave in the center loose end. We're going to take our yarn needle and thread this loose end into our needle. And we're going to make sure that the center is tightened. So if you still see a little hole, you can tighten it more. And then we're going to hide this loose end in our white stitches. So just go under any loops with your yarn needle. So like that. And make sure your yarn needle isn't showing through on the other side. And then we can pull through. And then we can keep going in a different direction. So let's go towards the left under these loops. And let's go as far as we can. And again, make sure that your yarn needle isn't poking through. You can see it kind of is. So let me fix that. Like that. And then pull your yarn through. And make sure that it's pulled through all the way, but not too tight. And then we can trim off the rest of the loose end. So just cut it off close. And then make sure it's not pulled too tight. And it's hidden. And we can do that same thing with the rest of our loose ends, just going under any loops to hide the loose end. And for the pink ones, you want to try to go under the pink loops. And then the green ones, it's a little trickier. So let's do this green one right here. So we're going to thread it into our yarn needle. And for this loose end, we're just going to go under these loops in the pink. Like that. Again, make sure you can't see it on the other side. And we're going to pull through. Just until it's taut. And then we can keep going under these pink loops. Like that. And we can pull the yarn through. And since it's just a coaster and not like a bag or something that'll be stretched around a lot, you don't have to be super secure when hiding your loose ends. And we can cut our yarn. And it's hidden. And we can do that for the rest of our loose ends. And after you weave in all of your loose ends, your coaster is finished. And to roll it into a bouquet, first, if you want to hold the bouquet in place, we're going to cut about 12 inches of yarn, and you can use any color you want. I'm just using the color of my flowers. Then lay your coaster flat with the right side facing up. So this is the wrong side, and this is the right side. With the right side facing up, we're going to fold it in half. So just grab it and fold it in half along the magic ring. And it should look like this. And then after you fold it in half, there's 2 ways you can make it into a bouquet. You can fold it 2 more times in half. So 1, and then the second one gets a little bit harder. So that's why I like to do the second way. After you fold it in half, you roll it into a bouquet. So take the right half and start to roll it around. Like that.
Then take the string that we cut earlier and wrap it around the bouquet.
So I don't want this side to show, so I'll make that the back. And just tie it. And then tie a bow. And then if you want, you can trim off the tails of the bow. And here is your little bouquet. And then if you do want a little holder for your coasters, you can make a little pot. And I'm not going to go over it again. It's basically the same first 3 rounds. You do a magic circle and then 12 double crochets, and then increase in every stitch for the second round and increase every second stitch for the third round. And then for rounds 4, 5, and 6, there are no increases. And then you just fasten off and weave in your loose ends. And you should have a little pot like this.
And the timestamps will be in the description if you need to go back and rewatch those first 3 rounds.
And to put the flower coaster into your pot, you just fold it up like this. And doing 3 rounds for the pot right here, you can fit 2 coasters. So here's my second one, and then you could just put it in the middle.
And you can add more coasters to make it a little fuller.
So here's how it looks. You can just set it down on your desk and have your coasters ready for when you have a drink.
And that's all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Quick shout out to channel members Dylan, Mai, Amarachi, Camelia, Kayla, Taylor, Casey, Allison, Eilish, Nadine, Joy, and Stacy. You can become a member of this channel and have these little yarn ball badges next to your name whenever you comment, and other perks such as member shoutouts, early access to new videos, discount codes from my Etsy, help with any of my patterns, and connecting on social media. Thank you again to all my channel members, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.